In this episode, we're talking about digital identities, or more importantly, sovereign digital identities. And on this episode, I talk with Tim from IAMX, a project that is building DIDs, digital identities, on the Cardano blockchain. But it's going further than Cardano. This is just the starting point. It's going to be a full cross-chain platform where you can manage your own identity on chain. And then you can use this in many other applications. You can use it in checkout processes when buying things online, and have that entire proof that who you are, who you say you are, authenticated in a decentralized way. And this is really powerful. I can see this being used in so many applications. And you may have heard that they were thinking about putting a full KYC, know your customer, and anti-money laundering laws around decentralized exchanges. And you think, how can you do that? That's really, really hard. How can you do the whole KYC process on a DEX? That seems almost impossible. But this process with digital identities makes that possible. So all of the operators of a DEX will know and can possibly know their customers if they have gone through this process. And this will tie into regulations, which eventually will come. Face it, it will come eventually, maybe not in the next year, maybe in the next 10 years. So this is one of those solutions that is thinking well ahead, and I absolutely love it. I learned a lot from this, but probably the key thing and the most applicable one at the moment is this one-click checkout. If you have, I'm assuming you have purchased something online, filling in those forms, your credit card details, going to a new store, putting in your billing address, your mailing address, and all these things to say who you are to purchase whatever online takes time. And then you tend to only buy at one store because all your details might be saved there. Now you can have this all on chain and saved within the protocol that IAMX have come up with, and it's all decentralized. I have to really stress that. And you save so much time in the checkout process. You can just click on one button, connect your wallets, your IAMX wallet, and you can check out straight away. Improves conversions, merchants win out on this. Everything is absolutely awesome. Now, I've babbled on quite a bit, but if you really like this type of content, please consider giving me that thumbs up, click subscribe, click on the notification bell, and you hear more really cool, exciting Cardano related content from me. Let's get into the interview. I have Tim Heidfeld from IAMX joining me on this episode to talk about their project that they're working on building for the Cardano ecosystem. It's all about digital identities. I'm pretty excited about this one because I can see so much potential in this one, and it's going to tap into so many parts of the ecosystem and further in the blockchain space as well. So Tim, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Peter.
All right. So to get a good base of where we are at the moment, could you give us a little bit of an explanation of your background and how you got into the Cardano ecosystem?
So my name is Tim. I'm co-founder and CEO of the company called IAMX. Before this time, I founded an e-commerce company selling mobile phone contracts online, and I sold this to ProSiebenSat.1, one of the biggest TV broadcasting stations in Europe. Before this time, I was in the private equity segment of Professor Weisheim. He's the founder of the Metro Group, of a big supermarket group. And we founded various so-called electronic marketplaces, like for real estate, cars, finance, and dating. And before this time, I was working on the stock market here in Germany, did several IPOs in Germany and in UK.
So quite an impressive resume.
Yeah, thank you. How did I get connected to Cardano? And this was the question. So our company has been founded in November 2021. So we are very young. And my colleague, Tim Brückmann, who's the CMO of our company, he gave me an article back then, I think it was from Ernst & Young, and it had the topic, how to reduce fraud in the telecommunication industry. And this kind of caught my attention very much because before this time I had crypto assets, but I wasn't really aware of the possibilities and the functionalities that you can basically build something with this, and that it's also making possible that we contribute to the next level, meaning what is Web3. And this is very, very fascinating for me. This is the first time that I may work in a team and in a company where the mission that we have gives so much power and energy to, to work on this, because I really consider this as a game changer in a positive way for all the people in the world to have certain benefits.
So what exactly is IAMX, and what is the solution you're building? Or probably more importantly, what's the problem you're solving around it to have your company exist?
Yes, I think we have to look at the various target groups. So in one sentence, what do we make possible? Buy everything with one click. This is the view of the customer. This means if you look at the standard e-commerce Web 2 websites, you always have a conversion break. You can research certain details of a product, and then when you need to purchase something, you fill out a form. And then when you purchase certain other products, you also need to do a so-called Know Your Customer process. Form filling takes about 5 minutes, Know Your Customer about 8 minutes. Our solution reduces this to 1 second. So it's very, very convenient for the user, and he still saves next to the time, because there's an average of 400 days in our life that we spend with filling in forms and know your customer process, and we really make it possible that it's a much, much shorter period. From the perspective of the verifier, so for example, from various merchants, they have two great benefits. Benefit number one is the one that is a little bit easier to kind of understand, is that you save money on the Know Your Customer process. So when you do a post ident or a video ident, the average costs for this is about $10. And you need this, for example, if you want to buy or get a loan online, if you want a certain bank account, a credit card, if you want to sign up with Kraken or with whatever. So verifiers cooperating with us save money on this. So it basically drops to something like 12 cents. So it's a lot cheaper.
That's a huge cost saving, actually. It's not much cheaper. It's huge. Yeah.
Benefit number two is the increase of the conversion rate. So the increase of the conversion rate is even the much bigger money saver. So in e-commerce websites, in Web 2, the average conversion rate is 2%. So you need 50 visits in order to do one sale. Our technology increases the conversion rate from 2% by a factor of 2.5 to 5%. This means you only need 20 visits. Why is this important? If the average CPC, for example, if you purchase clicks via Google or via other partners, it's about €1.50. So you save 30 times €1.50, what is 45 US dollars. So this gives the benefit from the verifier view that he saves money from the Know Your Customer or Know Your Business process. We are also offering this, but you also save money on the costs to get one new customer. And this gives the benefit that with a marketing budget that is not changed, that you just have much more clients than before. And then the verifier also has the possibility to reduce the price for this product for the person coming in, but it is still more profitable than the competition. So this is, I think, those are the two biggest benefits. If you look at the benefits for other people, for example, right now we have 7.9 billion people living on our planet Earth, and 1.4 billion have no national identity. And this is the prerequisite to own something. There are also 275 million children and babies that have no birth certificate. So our solution, what I can explain later regarding the technical details and how it works, makes it possible that we take certain elements of the biometrics. So for example, your face, your iris, your fingerprints still enrolled. So this is a form of biometric identity that you can use to get your first bank account, to get your first SIM card if you want to do phone calls, or to be able to prove a certain ownership. So this is also a game changer. But the business cases in the countries there are of course completely different. So they're not looking how to save on the next Netflix or on the next loan or whatever. They have just different basic demands. So it is basically changing and making things better how to interact with the various partners and entities.
Okay. All right. There's a lot there to go through, and I'll just roll back a little bit one. So we'll go back to that first use case for the users and having that, I guess, for more developed countries where they have e-commerce and it's quite a common thing. So that fast checkout process sounds absolutely fantastic, but it just something comes to mind, and there was another really big startup, I think it was Australian even, called Fast, that were going to do that, actually did roll out their solution and had that really fast checkout process on a lot of e-commerce stores. And they stored everyone's identity on their back-end systems and allowed that fast one-click checkout process. How does IAMX differ from their type of solution where they had everyone's data in their own database and allowed for that one-click centralized checkout solution?
Mm-hmm. We have developed our solution based on the principles of so-called self-sovereign identity. So this means we are not cooperating with partners that collect data in a so-called silo. So the solution that we provide is always customer-owned, customer-controlled, portable, multilingual, technology neutral, so it works on basically any form of decentralized storage. We could also call this a ledger. It works on any website, on basically any app, and even we also do not have the possibility to look into this data because it's completely customer owned. In order to provide a solution like this, you need 4 things. Number 1 is you have to be able, in order to be compliant with data protection in the various jurisdictions, and then you're facing a certain dilemma, because if you store an proof of an identity in a decentral form and the customer loses his master key or his passwords, it is not possible for us as a company that helps people to receive this form of digital identity, that they can re-access this data once the password is lost. So what we needed to solve is a solution that is GDPR compliant. And based on our research, we are the only company in the world that have solved this. If you would look up this topic and go more detailed in it, there's a term what is called zero knowledge proof, and there are various forms in order to provide such a proof. Zero knowledge proof means to prove something without revealing the secret, and we have solved this by design, and we have filed an intellectual property for this in December 2021, so 1 month after founding. And why is this so important? This is topic number 2. Because next to the technology, and of course we like technology, but we didn't start with the motivation to develop something nice in technology, is we need to convince our telecommunication partners to use their customers that have been pre-authenticated by them in order to deliver the identity to the customer. And this is only possible if you do it in a GDPR conform manner, and therefore you need to solve the question of GDPR and legal conformity. This is the key. And the telecommunication partners are so important, because if we would just be a technology, maybe nobody would use it. So what we are following is a principle of, customer mass onboarding. It's like if we would own a marketplace, for example, in the city that you live, it could be in a nice area, but then we need buyers and sellers on those marketplaces. And the marketplace needs to be in some kind of balance. And therefore, the telco partners are the partners for us for customer mass onboarding. And the sellers, so the various merchants, they are the partners that are already doing big business in the Web2 industry today with the benefits that I just mentioned before. Number three, the storage itself is a so-called DID, what is a decentralized identifier. And we were very happy. It was a scientific discussion that lasted from December until March, was that the World Wide Web Consortium has accepted our technology for decentralized identifiers independent of the form of storage. So it's completely chain agnostic as a worldwide standard. So this is a key benefit. And number four is you need to do this in a very convenient manner for the customer to control this. And therefore, we are also developing all the tools that you need for this. This means a browser plugin if you use your phone or if you use your computer. We have a wallet where you can store those credentials and also the keys to those so-called DIDs. So this is our solution that we are working on.
Okay. There is a lot there to decompress.
Yes,
There's quite a lot there. And I also want to go back to the other side of the spectrum there, the other users with all sorts of different things there. Okay, so you mentioned biometrics in there and the storing of data and then proving against some zero knowledge proofs. So I really want to break that down so everyone can understand how that actually works. Now, it's self-sovereign identity. So that means I control the data of my identity. So how is that data stored? Is it stored as an NFT in my wallet? Is part of that information stored on the blockchain? I'm trying to understand like where the data and information is stored, especially the biometric side of things for users that haven't had an ID before, and they're trying to use their biometrics to actually verify their identity online. So there's a lot of information there. I'm just trying to understand.
Yes, I will start with the biometrics because this is something very critical. If it would get in the hands of the wrong people, and this happened in the past before, you can do very bad things with it. So you have to be really, really careful. From a technology perspective, biometrics are something like a unique identifier.
Yeah.
Your iris, your face, your fingerprints, they're very unique. And we are chaining. This means we are putting various forms of the biometrics into one container. And this container, they are so-called verifiable credentials, so something that you could use to prove, and the address to access those verifiable credential container sets is a so-called DID. You have to think of a DID like a web address. It is persistent, it is unique, it is the next generation, and with this you can really connect things, persons, and also organizations to the internet that are not really connected because the internet was not built with a layer of the so-called identity and authentication. So
whoever
the customer
would have thought it would get to this point, when they were inventing the internet. Yeah, go on, sorry.
Yeah. Yes. And what I learned is that the early adopters, people that really build use cases on the various ledger solutions right now, they usually have a preference also where the storage should be. Therefore, just that this is clear, the storage, so where you store your DID, is decided by the user. So right now we support 43 different DID methods. This is almost comparable to a ledger. So the customer decides where to store the DID. So what is on a ledger? So you can, for example, store it on the interplanetary file system because there are no gas fees. You can store it on Cardano because it's very eco-friendly, sustainable. You right now have only transaction costs of about 18 Lovelaces. You only need, I think, right now 1.4 ADA in a transaction, so it works. So the gas fee is always something that the customer decides where does he want to store it. It's also possible on Bitcoin and basically any other ledger. And what you store there is a DID. So this is like a web address. And
Yep.
this directs to your wallet. So the wallet that I'm talking about is not a wallet to store cryptocurrency in. It is the wallet where you store your identity. And in this wallet, you have those so-called verifiable credential container sets. The information there is hashed and encrypted, and they are always in a state that even if you would show me your wallet, I could not retrieve any form of information. So to make this long introduction short, the customer decides where to store his digital identity. We only support business cases that are fully customer owned and customer controlled. We would never store personal data or data that is hackable or data that can be used in a bad manner on a chain, because it could happen depending on the computational power that sometimes or at a certain point in the future something could happen. So the customer only has those credential container sets in his wallet, and therefore there's nothing on the chain besides the address where it's stored, and this is in the wallet of the customer, and it cannot go out there if the customer doesn't say yes.
Gotcha. Okay. That is a very different way of how I thought it would be set up and stored, but that makes total sense. And you also mentioned there that the Worldwide Consortium also accepted the DID standard a little bit earlier as well, and that's really cool. I swear I read an article that they rejected Google and Firefox's methods of or DID, or their input around DIDs, and it led to a more decentralized way of doing it, which is absolutely fantastic for your solution, for what you guys are building. Can you comment a little bit on that?
Yes, you have to think about this like a scientific discussion that you do with various groups worldwide. And I do not see it as a competition. It is more like they helped us to make our concept better. So we received really good questions, and it took about 4 months, and we kind of try to improve our method to make it more better, more secure, more state of the art. And then, of course, we have been very happy that it was possible for us that the W3C, the Worldwide Web Consortium, said yes. So just that we understand, this is not something that is completely unique to our company. I think right now there are about 130 different other DID methods, but usually they are connected to one ledger, and we are completely chain agnostic. And we say also there we have to, it's the same principle. Self-sovereign means it's in the hands of the customer, customer owned, customer controlled, and therefore the customer should also decide. In this terminology, it's a so-called holder, and therefore he should decide where his data is stored or not stored and how it is used or not used.
Very cool. Now, you did mention how many competitors out there? 130 or so?
Yes, but I think the key differentiator is our marketplace approach. So when I entered this field of decentralized identity in last year in summer, this was the first time when we discussed this with my colleague Tim Bruckmann, is that there are many various solutions out there. It almost seemed to me, Peter, like there are several B2B marketplaces where you can buy certain modules. But our goal is that we gave ourselves the questions, how could we enable mass market adoption? And you only do this when there is usage. And usage means, like in our marketplace example, this only happens if you build the marketplace, if you have a solution to find buyers that use this, the purchasers, the users, and also merchants that accepts this. So this is, I think, one of the key differentiators. We are not a technology company saying, hey, you can use this. Of course, this is possible. Our technology can be used by basically everybody. But besides the technology, our our biggest amount of time that we invest here is to drive mass market adoption.
Gotcha. Okay. So talking about that mass market adoption, yeah, I know you have a lot of partners as well. So I want to talk about partners and how to integrate into the websites. But before we get to that, I know there's an incentive mechanism to actually onboard merchants and whatnot to the ecosystem, and there's tokens and stuff around it. Can you talk about how that incentive model works to try and get more of that mass adoption actually happening?
Yes. So besides token and other maybe complex logics is one benefit that we might have and that I also have and other team members have is that our background is coming from Web 2. So I think the last 20 years I've been working in this segment. So I have a very deep understanding of websites, form filling, know your customer, where to buy traffic, how to increase the conversion rate. I know many softwares that are used worldwide by many shops in the form of a standard e-commerce software. So what we basically do is that we can connect the various merchants without their so-called IT resources. So also in the same month, just to give you one example, in November 2021, we have delivered a proof of work. Proof of work means we have proven that our technology works. Proof of work means it didn't look perfect on the front end side, it didn't look perfect in the browser plugin, but we have proven that that was possible, and we have done this with a German telecommunication provider, that it's possible to purchase a mobile phone plan with one click. This includes the exchange of about 22 attributes, like for example, Mr. Tim Heidfeld would be 3 attributes out of 22 that you need there. And also we need a know your customer process that the verifier, in this case, for example, the German telco says, yes, we can trust this so-called pre-authenticated data. So this is what we have done there in order to prove
I have
that
to
it
stop
works.
you there because that scenario, the last time I signed up for a phone plan and to purchase a new phone, you usually go on a monthly plan. So just to reiterate this to people, like I had to fill in pages of documentation. Bring in my, 2 forms of ID, so a driver's license, something else, bank card, fill in multiple forms. I was in the store for maybe up to an hour purchasing the phone, or I did part of it online and then bought the rest of it in store to actually collect the phone as well and did the rest of it there. So it's a very long process. And you're saying that you've now reduced that down to a single click where it's verified all online, making that purchasing experience so much faster. So it's not only just better for the customer, but also a lot better for the business as well. That is actually amazing. It's a huge inefficiency in that sales process, which you've reduced down to a click. That's,
Yes,
it's one of those moments.
thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
The principle behind it, and if we do not look at this, how it really works for a moment. The principle that is behind it, let's say you would represent Vodafone, okay?
Yeah.
And you say, okay, there's this customer, Tim, saying he wants a SIM card. And Tim says, dear Peter, you're representing Vodafone. I have done a know your customer process with a German bank on a standard that is completely legally conform. I did this, for example, 3 months ago. They have done an identity check, including video ident. They have also checked whether I really live on this post address by checking my utility bills. And let's say that I can prove this to you. Like, look, Peter, would you trust this? Would you trust this issuer? For example, the German bank. Would you also be able to accept this? Then you'd go back to your legals and say, okay, this is the same level. And if it's the same level, and if you say yes, then you trust the issuer of those credentials because they have been signed by them. and then you can skip this process. So what we use is pre-authenticated data. And the sources for this are the telecommunication partners. This is our source. We have our own video ident solution, and we also have a hardware solution, but this is maybe a little bit too complex to talk about this right now. The question that I didn't answer so far is what are the benefits regarding our solutions for the merchant and also for the customer? And so I need to talk about our token principle for a moment, but I will make it very, very simple. Let's say if we both wouldn't really have deep understanding of token, I think we would still understand if we, Peter, you and me, would have the right to print money. We would kind of understand that if we print too much money, the price or the value of the money falls. And if we do not print the correct amount of money, then the price rises too high.
Yeah.
So this is the first thing that we need to have in our back mind. Number two is, and then I need to talk a little bit about a token. We are a so-called utility token. Utility tokens have one important character. They have a functionality. The functionality of our token are just two things: to create or to verify identity. And the question then that we needed to answer is, and we compared many various token models, and usually they are saying we will print or mint a certain amount of token in a certain quarter or in a certain month. But of course, when you're a utility token, you can never hit the sweet spot. So you're always too much or too high. So this causes deflation or inflation, and you never have the so-called equilibrium price.
Yeah.
And so what we did is we tried to learn something from nature, from biology, because there are certain mathematical sequences that describe how a population grows. You can also see this in the structure of certain leaves. And there was one mathematician, he's called Fibonacci, and he has proven this in a so-called Fibonacci sequence. So we used this principle from biology in order to say the growth, the minting, how many tokens are out there from our company can only be influenced by measurable elements. So not if the C-level decides to just mint 10 million token more. And therefore we need those events in order to create more token. And therefore it is directly connected to usage. And this means if there are only those two cases that I just mentioned, to create or to verify, those are the only points where there are more token in the market. And this is like a DNA of the token. And we put this into our token so that it is not dependent on our company, not dependent on me to decide what to do or what not to do. This is completely in the token. And we also use this in a form of a so-called capitalistic reward. And the capitalistic reward is the benefit of the first purchaser of the token. So when the token that you purchase is used, meaning to create or to verify identity, then the first receiver wallet address receives more token. So basically you purchase one token and the maximum that you get back is 12. And this is in this Fibonacci sequence 1, 1, 2, 3, 5. So in total 12. And this is the benefit. So you buy it one time, you can sell it 12 times, and it's always just to create or to verify identity.
Mm-hmm. That's a really unique way of having those tokens generated. And I absolutely love that Fibonacci sequence and growth of the tokens within the ecosystem around its usage. So I think that's the key thing there. You're not just pumping tokens based on a Fibonacci sequence. You're actually making it when the token's being used. So as adoption occurs, more tokens become into circulation. So kind of, I guess that would keep the price at that equilibrium as you were describing, which is really, really cool.
And this is important because when you run a website, Peter, and you say, okay, I will just substitute my form filling and substitute my know your customer process with a token, then you can do this if you can, have some kind of stable price that doesn't, go 10 times up in the next months. And this is also the reason why the verifier say that's a very fair model.
Indeed, especially for like a small business owner that's running an e-commerce website, and then they've adopted solution. They think it's fantastic, but next month the costs of it go astronomically, and the hosting cost is still the same. That's stable. It's budgetable, but this extra cost of verifying users onto the onto their website is needs to be stable and not fluctuating like most cryptocurrencies do. So that's really good. Now, talking about the websites and that aspect, how do people integrate this onto websites? So, my own business, we've been building WordPress websites and WooCommerce websites, for example, for the last 13 or so years. How can someone, a developer or even a business owner, integrate in IAMX onto their website?
Basically, also with one click, because we develop plugin per standard e-commerce shop. So what we did in November 2021 with this German telco is that we built this for shopware. This is a widely used system. So you can just use our plug-in and it works.
Easy. And I was expecting like a long integration process or anything like that, but just a simple plugin, and that will talk to the various aspects that need to be done and verify users through the process. Wow, absolutely fantastic. What about like secondary information that comes from users as they go through a checkout process? Like most e-commerce people, stores would like to gather some sort of email address to do follow-up campaigns or even get feedback from the customer, trigger feedback campaigns. Is there anything that the merchants can gather from customers through that process? Is there like an opt-in process?
I think you have to understand that also when you order a SIM card, when you order a book, or when you say this nice blue T-shirt that you're wearing, if you want to ship it to a person, you need his post address. He needs to do some form of payment. So we are not substituting the amount of data of attributes that is needed, so that we kind of enable the merchant to do the processing. But we show the customer each piece of data that will be submitted to the verifier in a nice overview. So then you can decide whether you regard this information as fair or not. And I think almost everybody needs an email because you need a confirmation that you have ordered something. But if the customer says no, but then there's also no sale. So we are not substituting how merchants interact with users regarding the processing of data. We just say, okay, you do not need to type in Peter Bui again for the millionth time. And you also do not need to show your driver's license, passport, national ID, and kind of upload your utility bills or credit card statements so often. This is just substituted because we make both things reusable.
Gotcha. Okay. That really paints a clear picture of that user experience, that user journey through the website. So thank you for that. Now, a little bit earlier, you did mention partners that you're working with, this telecoms company. What other partners are you working with at the moment to start and drive adoption of the project?
Yeah. We have defined, I would call it maybe like a half-time goal. So to develop this technology, and we are not even 10 months old right now, is that we looked at what are the business cases that already generate revenues on a blockchain. So therefore, our mid-term goal, and we already have this live, is to add the so-called identity to NFTs. This means that the creator can verify that he is the creator, that this NFT is really from him, and this reduces fraud to zero. And this also increases the second market revenue strongly, whereas, if you have some kind of insights in NFT trading, that this is maybe the even bigger source of revenue streams regarding profitability. And we do this by a very simple way. You can also look it up on nftidentity.imxid. There, the creator signs in with his already existing single sign-on by up to 20 sources. The sources that we use are mainly social media accounts, web accounts like, for example, GitHub, Twitter, Facebook, Google email. So if you know that I'm the creator of an NFT and you see that I have successfully signed in by up to 20 sources, then the probability that I'm really the creator, because my username is displayed and also the URL, this gives the purchaser a high confidence that I'm really the creator. So you're willing to purchase. And we have this live, so you can do this on our website. It already works. You can save it right now on the interplanetary file system, and Cardano and all the other ledgers for this are just being built. And we have also developed a very simple lookup for this. So you do not need blockchain viewers or deep understanding. We have tried it in a way that even people that have never had a deeper touch point with the crypto-related topics can make this visible. And this is something where we see a high demand because this business area is still very big. And also one source that is already live that you can do there is you can also do the full IAMX identity check. So this is a legally conform know your customer process, including the so-called anti-money laundering laws or counter-terror financing. So this is something that the various partners that we cooperate or that we are building in the corporations right now because we see a strong tendency that this will be added very, very, very soon to various projects. I also personally expect a changed landscape regarding, staking. Also today, to make it possible that, for example, banks with institutional customers use the benefit of staking, you need to be legally conform. And this means you need a verification, like a know your business process of the person or the company running the pool, but you also need the same thing from the delegators. So we are just making it possible that it's completely legally conform and that you do not have to do it twice.
Or ever again, if you have your full DID online. It's going to be a very interesting space with regulations changing, especially around staking and having this whole AML KYC process.
Yes, I agree.
Complete within our IDs is going to save people huge amounts of time. I could just move anywhere I want and do whatever I want and not fill in these forms over and over again, or sign up to another exchange or whatever it is. It's very time consuming, very, very painful. And it's that resistance point of how anyone's trying to get into those ecosystems. Yeah, so that's absolutely fantastic. Now, the last question I want to end on here is the revenue system for the platform. Like, how are you guys funding all of this development, R&D and everything else around it?
So, as I said, we have been founded in November. We have done a private sale to friends and family only. We run a pool. It's the IAMX pool. And this gives us about an average of about 35 to 45,000 euros if I convert ADA to euro per month. And our costs that we have about 7 to 10,000 euros less. Regarding the IT development, we source our developers worldwide in various time zones. We work with Slack and ClickUp with modern tools, and this reduces our IT development costs per head to between 2,000 and 3,000 USDC per head per month, and we are still getting 45 hours per week out of it. If we would do this in the European jurisdiction, the price would be like 2 times at least higher. Maybe a little bit more. So this is possible because we have this form of solution for our development process. Regarding the other source is, and now I'm coming back to this marketplace, if I if based on my technology that we can measure in a so-called tracking code, in a tracking URL, if I bring a new customer to an e-commerce partner, you always get a sales commission for this. So, for example, for Netflix, what costs about $10 per month, it's about 50 cents. If we look at continuing obligations like car insurance, bank accounts, and stuff like this, it's about $60, so it's very, very high. If we look at shopping, it's about 5% of of the basket volume. And what we are doing is that we are using those tracking links in order to connect buyer and seller. And even in a not pessimistic, but in a very conservative case, it is a nice thing for the telecommunication partners to cooperate with us. Because even if you would just purchase Netflix, and this is also something that you purchase every month, our sales commission is 50 cents. And our principle is always that we share 50-50 equally. So the telco gets 25 cents per month for 12 months. Just, if you look at an annual period, what is €3? And if you look then at the profit and loss statement of telco partners, it is the average in Europe that you have a net result per customer per year of $6. So we add 3 in a conservative case. 6 is close to 0. AT&T has minus $38 per customer per year.
Wow. Okay.
So our solution makes it possible that the telcos generate a new revenue stream, and they are provided this revenue stream lifetime because our technology has at least the chance to substitute how transactions are done today, because one click is just much more convenient, and you also, next to saving time, you save money because you just get great deals because the verifier saves so much. And therefore, this is I think the biggest resource where our revenues are coming from. So we are not so capital intensive. We have been profitable from day one, just based on our little funding that we received, our pool, and also the first projects, for example, were white label solutions of our technologies. We are already getting paid for this. So it is not that we need capital to survive or that we need capital to grow. It will speed up things. We can be faster. We can even be more convenient. But I'm happy that we have found a solution that we are not so cash reliant. And if we fail, because right now we have a bear market since a couple of months, many companies have problems. So I'm happy that we are so strict with our spending policies and always try to generate money from real revenues and not to be dependent on venture capitalists all the time.
Absolutely brilliant. That's really good to hear that you're essentially self-sufficient at the moment as well. All right. How can people find out more about the project, and where can they join in and talk with you guys, learn about more of what you guys are building, or if there's companies out there that want to use these solutions, where do we go?
I think the best thing is to come to our website, IAMX.id. There we have a link tree, we have a white paper, we have a deck, and we have various forms of contacts, whether you are a natural person, whether you want to just set up a DIT, whether you're looking for a partnership. So you will find all the information there.
Okay, brilliant. I'll make sure all the links and references are in the show notes, all in the blog post as well. And Tim, thank you so much for joining me and talking about the solution and everything that you guys are building. I think I need to have you on again so we can actually talk about the DIDs being used in developing nations and how their use cases are completely different as well. We could spend a whole entire podcast around that one as well. So I think it's pretty important that I do talk to you about that again in the future as well. But thank you so much for joining me on this podcast episode. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you also very much from my side, Peter. It was wonderful, really good questions, and I also liked it very much.
Hope you guys got something out of that. I know I did. I certainly did with this one. It is quite an eye-opener of what this platform, what this technology of digital identities can do for the whole internet. It's basically anything purchasing online. Digital identities is going to be the key to unlock a lot of those aspects. So very, very excited. All the links in the show notes for you. You can get to them on the learncardano.io website. Please check it out there. Now I have some follow-up interviews that tie in with all this as well. So there's that whole NFT anti-fraud thing that ties into it. And I have an interview with Argus NFT. Please check out the playlist if you're watching this later, but that's coming up as well as another project called Landano, who's looking at the land titles and deeds, the property ownership within various countries, and having that all on chain as well, and using IAMX in that process to identify that, yes, I am who I am and I own this piece of property, and it's all done with NFTs. Crazy, isn't it? All right. Please give me that thumbs up, click subscribe, click the notification bell. You'll get that notification as soon as those episodes come out. I'm really looking forward to getting these ones out. They should all be out by the end of the week. All right, I'll see you in the next video.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast. Gotta get it hype. Crypto is what we like, but this is not investment or financial advice. Gotta do your research, cause it's risky. We know it is. This show is educational and it's informative. Crypto's the future, really, it ain't no debate.